Greetings and welcome to episode, we're recording 149 of the Words About Gamescast. I'm your host, Amy Alexander, of this very professional, tightly run ship, and I'm joined this week by Keith Robinson. Did I say my name? I can't remember if I said my name. I've been very ill. And I'm still a bit dicey. Much like the running order of this show is still a little bit dicey. God knows how this is gonna go. Ha 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 ha. Hey Keith, how are you?
To quote Nietzsche, when you stare into the darkness, the darkness stares into you. And reading the show notes for this week, I know exactly which abyss he was talking about. Friedrich Nietzsche, everyone, he could see into the future. We've got a great podcast for you this week.
Do you remember when, on those innocent days of, I think Tuesday, when when we saw that thing about the esports dress?
Yeah.
And we were like, haha, that's really stupid. And you're like, should we put it in the podcast? And I looked, and it was like, I did the checks notes. Yeah, we'll probably have room for it, easily. And then Wednesday happened. I don't know if that was the exact running order, but it was basically the next day, and then it was cut to everything's burning down and there's people running around screaming. You know that one stunt guy who's on fire and just run across the background.
Beckett, right? I just want to say that I saw some really wonderful things on Twitter about on International Women's Day about women in all different sorts of industries and stuff. I just want to get them nice and positive out to begin with. Shout out to companies like
Bungie.
Bungie. Yeah, Bungie. And I was thinking, Rooster Teeth. Wait, no, they don't produce games. They have a game made of several of their products. No. I saw some really nice stuff about women that work in the industry. Some real positivity and stuff. And yes, admittedly, there was that dress we all laughed at because it was basically, we'll do something.
You like games?
We'll make dresses. The girls can be nerdy and social and supportive of this team, and then didn't. As they admitted, didn't actually ask any women about the dress design that they made. They just made it so you could print whatever team colours on, and not if it actually looked good or not.
Do you want to look like a gaming chair? Do you want to wear a cheerleader's outfit? Then have we got the dress for you? Brilliant.
Yeah, the gaming chair comment might just be the default thing. It might look better if you put a team's colours actually on it as opposed to the default one they did. But I'm the last person to talk to about fashion.
I was going to say, I'm not going to lie. There are many items of clothing that I would want to wear while gaming.
Yeah.
A dress is not one of them. I mean, don't get me wrong, I love dresses. I own dresses. Wearing one while playing video games, nah, man, you want to be comfortable while you're playing a game. You want to be so comfortable. You're PJs. I've streamed in PJs before. That's the goal right there. Not a dress anyway. If you haven't seen it, esports dress shouldn't be too difficult to find.
Yeah.
It's something else. This is episode 149, which means we're almost on 150. That's an actual milestone. That's not a made up milestone. We've almost hit another actual milestone. Come prepared this week. So we don't do another 1 hour, 50-minute podcast. I've got my stopwatch running on my clock so I can see how long we've been going for. It only goes up to minutes, so this could get dicey. Fuck, we've only been going for 10 minutes. That's weird. Oh well, plenty of time. How's the podcast 4 hours long? Anyway, I wrote a blurb thing because I remembered I forgot to explain the podcast last time. So I wrote it down. This is the Words About Gamescast over at youtube.com/wordsaboutgamesuk, where we tackle 5 topics centered around what's been going on in gaming, the games industry, and gaming culture over the past 7 days, before leaving you with a list of games coming out this week. This week, we're discussing Steam listing a game called Rape Day, EA skipping an E3 press conference, the meat grinder that was February 15th's game releases, THQ Nordic's late response to the disastrous 8chan AMA, Nintendo Switch's VR, and then we close the show with the games that are launching this week. Keith, are we staring into the abyss here?
I don't know what we're staring at. It's just sort of bungee jumping into it.
Whee! And then it's like,
Welcome to
oh,
Words
fuck.
About Game podcast, where we bungee jump into the abyss on a weekly basis.
When we bungee jump into the heart of darkness. Keith, number one, of course, a game called Rape Day appeared on Steam's Coming Soon list because of course it did. Content. I actually, for the first time ever, have put a content warning ahead of this for sexual assault. So if you don't want to hear about this, there are timestamps in the description below this video, which is the part I forgot to mention in the intro, which I'll add next time. You can just go down, find the next story, click it, and I promise we will not reference this again for the rest of our lives once we finish talking about it. But probably not in this podcast anyway.
Yeah.
Anyway, this comes in two parts. Part one, the game via Eurogamer's Matt Wales. I apologise for all of the words I'm about to say. Rape Day, created by developer Deskplant, is a visual novel with 500 images and over 7,000 words that, according to its Steam page, enables players to, quote, verbally harass, kill, and rape women as they choose to progress the story, end quote. Its contents include violence, sexual assault, non-consensual sex, obscene language, necrophilia, and incest. Incest. That might be incense.
Incest.
But it's incest. The accompanying sexually explicit screenshots are as unpleasant as its text description suggests. Yes, they were. The Steam store description, which read, quote, control the choices of a menacing serial killer rapist during a zombie apocalypse. Verbally harass, kill, and rape women as you choose to progress the story. It's a dangerous world with no laws. The zombies enjoy eating the flesh off warm humans and brutally raping them, but you are the most dangerous rapist in town. End quote. According to the FAQ on the game's website, a baby killing scene was removed because it might trigger Valve's no child exploitation rule. Honestly, and this is a personal quote from me, honestly, it's nice to know that they have at least one rule. So that we've got the bullet points and the things that I've written. Surprisingly enough, the first one isn't why, dear God, why. It's, and like, you can respond to this or not, but like, my first comment and thought was, I feel like I should have been surprised by this, but I'm not. Like, the game itself is totally surprised, like, can't believe it. Like, the fact that this appeared on Steam, I just wasn't surprised that something like this appeared on Steam.
Well, there was an incident last year when
Many incidents last year.
Yeah, the Steam going through my own Steam queue. For reasons I cannot imagine, I did encounter a game which, while looking very fun in like anime style, I noticed something on the background of the pictures, and we never really discussed it.
No, it was one of those things we agreed to not talk about.
Yeah, I checked it out enough to realize it was basically a rape simulator. Using the medium of match free.
Yes.
And vague storytelling. And it had pretty much everything that you've just listed there. But this game makes no pretense of being just like a pervy.
It's right there in the Steam store.
Yeah,
you are the most dangerous rapist in town.
It's in the title of the game.
It's in the title of the game. We'll get to that.
Yeah.
We can add rape fantasies to the list of things that have ended up on Steam thanks to their complete hands-off approach to what ends up on the platform. Honestly, I don't know if there are any questions in these observations as much as I've just sort of looked at it and gone, what the fuck?
Yeah.
What the actual... Well, I quoted you when I found this on Twitter and just said, like, to quote you from the last week's podcast, what the literal fuck? WTLF.
I mean,
there is actually some...
Yeah, just go for it. Go.
Just go. The quicker we can get out of this, the quicker we can talk about E3, the better. The word rape is automatically censored if a user tries to post it in a review, comment, forum post, etc., but apparently doesn't set alarm bells off at Steam HQ if it pops up in the title of a game. To which you actually added a point, which is, are all video game submissions to Steam processed automatically with no human oversight? I mean, fucking hope so. I fucking hope so. At this point.
I've got to admit, I just think that when I think about the sheer volume of the games that go through, that it makes all the sense in the world that nobody at Valve looks
Looks
at
at
the
them
game.
like,
Well, we've had games which they said,
didn't
oh
work.
yeah, they didn't work. They could have meant to be next week file. I'm thinking the process of Valve is pretty much entirely automated at this point. To
Yes.
all of the jokes we've ever made about Skynet.
Um.
Um,
Yeah. No. Sky. If this is the future of Skynet, we have nothing to worry about. I mean, remember when we went through our algorithms, our queues in Steam, and it was like,
yeah, this is
this
how
is nonsense.
I found that game. I won't mention because I don't want to give publicity because
No,
it's still on there.
it is still up there. I mean, that's the thing. There are plenty of games that are still up that are reprehensible. I made a
Yeah,
list. The only reason I like, which we'll get into in part two of this discussion, because I didn't really remember the game that you and I talked about last year. Like, I
yeah,
didn't put it on. I couldn't remember the name of it. I thought about it and I was like, should I go looking for it? And then I was like, nah. Doing the research for this story alone probably already put me on some kind of list.
yeah,
And I don't want to add to that. Um,
yeah.
Thank fuck I have a VPN. Otherwise, I might have, like, my internet might have just been shut down for the things that, yeah, like, look, I went on the creator's website. That's how I knew about the FAQ.
Right.
Like, I looked at the screenshots because, of course, I did. I was researching this game, and I wish I didn't. I didn't add any of them into the document because I was like, I can't do that to Keith.
Thank you.
Yeah, no, I mean, I'll push you as far as I have to, and like, be like, no, no, you don't have to see these things. Um, I mean, like I say, I hope it's automated. I hope it's fully automated at this point because otherwise, someone at Valve saw the title of this game and went, "Yeah, sure, no worries." Or saw the title and went, "Huh?" and then clicked it and then read all the submission information and saw the screenshots and went, "Yeah, cool. I don't see a problem with this." And that is more terrifying than if it was just a failure of an automated system.
Yeah, I mean, I'm guessing it's an automated system. It's entirely possible that maybe a human is meant to check all these, and either A doesn't or B doesn't speak English as the first language and didn't get triggered by the word.
Yeah, I mean, it's
It's not a word you look up when learning a second language.
no, definitely not. It is weird that and it like morbidly hilarious when people were like pillorying this game on Steam that you like the word in comments and forum posts and stuff is censored by Steam
Yeah,
censors, but it's right there in the title of the game.
yeah.
So when
You can't
people
actually mention the game
yeah, you can't
directly.
actually yeah, so when people were on the forums like this is bullshit, every time they try to use the title of the game, it couldn't go
Yeah,
through on the thing. It was kind of funny in a really shitty sort of way.
yeah.
A gallows humor thing, right?
Yeah, I was trying to think of the word there. Surreal was the word I was going to go for. Surreal humor. It's like when Russia, this is the real we attended, Russia decided to ban socks and went so far into it that they banned the word for socks. And then this was like after World War One, before World War Two. And when they decided to like unban the word for socks, because people pointed out was the word that they could only have was no socks because they banned the previous word and people only those use the word for no socks. So the Russian word for sock is no socks.
Yeah, I get that. That's pretty. Yeah. Okay, we're halfway there. Part two.
Yeah.
The game is removed from Steam. I mean, again, I'd fucking hope so, right?
Yeah.
This is the Steam blog post in its entirety. I'm going to read it, and then we have some thoughts and comments on this too. So this is the Steam blog post. Over the past week, you may have heard about a game called Rape Day coming soon to Steam. Today, whenever day that was, we've decided not to distribute this game on Steam. Given our previous communication around who gets to be on the Steam store, we think this decision warrants further explanation. It doesn't need explaining. Much of our policy around what we distribute is and must be reactionary. We simply have to wait and see what comes to us via Steam Direct. I don't know if I'm going to make it through reading this out loud. We then have to make a judgment call about any risk it puts to Valve, our development partners, or our customers. After significant fact-finding and discussion, we think Rape Day poses unknown costs and risks and therefore won't be on Steam. If almost laughed not because I found it funny. It's like that disbelieving laugh. You know, that gif that goes around Twitter from Veep, where she's like, what the fuck? That.
Yeah.
We respect developers' desire to express themselves. I'm going to snap this fucking iPad in half. And the purpose of Steam is to help developers find an audience. But this developer has chosen content matter and a way of representing it that makes it very difficult for us to help them do that. So let's talk about this post really quickly. It's the language from Valve in the last paragraph. Quote, we respect developers' desires to express themselves, end quote. Probably isn't something you should say when discussing a game that is basically a rapist power fantasy. As Nina Freeman said on Twitter, you respect the developer's desire to make a game where you can rape women for fun. I'm just going to let that hang for a second. Respect their desire to express themselves in this rape game where you rape women because that's apparently an enjoyable experience in a video game. Yay. I'm trying not to just lose my shit, like throw the iPad across the room and just go for it.
Part of me is hoping that this is like a cookie cutter message that was put out, which sort of like had prepared for games where it's like, okay, we're gonna get a load of like, because it's so vague about like the reason that it's like Antwerp goes. What people were expecting was a thing say like, no, this game isn't coming to Steam. We value like creativity, but this is against the values and whatever of Valve. That's what people were expecting. They put this out, which looks very much
like it was designed by an algorithm.
At the Skynet.
I mean, I'm going back to the thing we talked about last year. Does anyone work at Valve, or is it just an algorithm and a series of servers at this point? Gabe Newell uploaded himself to the Steam store. And is now just a malfunctioning AI.
The Steam store is Half-Life 3. The technology is standard.
It's the greatest horror game ever made.
Well, this game is very much a horror game, but not in the usual fashion.
Yes, it is definitely a horror game.
You know, at the end of last year, beginning of this year, I made a prediction about Valve going all in on not curating their store. This, like, you pretty much post anything here. I'm not entirely sure if this helps or hinders my point in this regard.
Well,
because they're basically saying that in this case, we're not going to go forward because we don't know what sort of costs and like problems it may like incur.
Yeah.
They're still not curating their store or saying that they'll ban other stuff like this, which is already on Steam.
Let me just do, because we've got bullet points, I'll do the third one before I do the second one because it ties in. Because I wrote down the quote, unknown costs and risks, but I didn't have a question. Because I was like, I don't like that line, but I don't know why. And I've just figured it out based on what you said and what I've said. And it is because they didn't ban this game because it broke the rules. Yeah. They banned this game because there was a backlash. And they've outright admitted that they've banned this game because there was a backlash. Right?
Indeed.
Not because it broke, like, whatever the rules they have.
I take issue with the fact that they have to be reactionary. They choose to be reactionary.
Yeah, they choose to be reactionary. They could have easily had someone sitting at the end of a thing where it's like, oh, this is the games that were submitted to Steam via Steam Direct. And there's like a few people who just work on it. Yeah. And then they could just be like, wait, this one, right? Or they could just use their own word filter to flag games.
Yeah, I mean, it wouldn't take that long for people to get around it, but it would have been a better approach than this.
Anything would have been a better approach than the approach that they currently take. And because, according to this statement, this is the approach they're still going to take. They're still trying to defend this anything goes policy.
Yeah.
Crazy. That is fucking mind-boggling to me at this point. That
they said once that they would not put on things which were outright offensive or trolling.
No, they never used offensive. In fact, they defended the idea that offensive games could come to Steam, which has always been one of my major sort of sticking points with it. Like, I haven't spent money on Steam in probably 2 years. I refuse. Like, I use it because that's where review codes for PC, they
Yeah.
activate on Steam. I use those. If I need to buy a game, I go somewhere else. Like, and then just buy a code for Steam. And Steam probably get money from me, but it's like, it's the principle of the thing. I will not give them money directly. I can't do that in the face of all of this. But most people just don't really give a shit. I don't know if it's most people. That might be hyperbolic, whatever, however you pronounce it.
The thing is, if this had come to Steam, using their own algorithm, anyone who played, say, Left 4 Dead...
Yeah, it's a zombie game. So anyone who's played significant
The Last
amounts of
of Us.
zombie games... Well, that's not on Steam. But, yeah, anyone who's put significant amount of time into zombie games, i.e. us, like, theoretically, they should have appeared in our Steam algorithms, right?
Well, given that Football Manager appeared in both of us, it would have appeared anyway, so...
Yeah, it's adult only. Like, you can't... You when there was a store page, you couldn't go on another store page unless you were logged in, and, you know, you'd seen the... Like, so if you weren't logged in and you were just in a browser window, you couldn't go onto the page. It didn't exist as far as it was concerned, like 8chan on Google. But, like, I mean, you set your age by just scrolling through the thing. Like, my birthday on Steam is like January 1st, 1952 or whatever, because all I did was like click the thing, scroll up, find the first day, that came up, that let me be old enough to get through things and click it. Because like the extra effort, because I'm lazy, the extra effort it takes to go through and put my actual birthday in, it's just like, whatever, I can't be arsed with that. But
I'm boring enough to have actually put my own birthday.
Like, kids can do that to get access to games. If a kid does that to get access to a zombie game that's rated 18, and then they play the shit out of that zombie game, and then this would have come up in their algorithm, right? And then those are the unknown costs and risks, because Steam would have gotten probably sued.
Yeah. It's like it's like, well, I presume to be the fact that I played a couple of match-free games on Steam, and I got that one I won't mention.
Yeah. It doesn't take much, because the tags on Steam are so basic that the matching system is hilariously broken, which we've already proven on this podcast. Like, we could prove it again, but I'd rather not. I wrote a bullet point here. This took, quote, significant fact-finding discussion, end quote, and then I just wrote after it, really? Like, was there a big meeting? Did it last hours? Like, it's a game called Rape Day.
Yeah. I wonder if the significant fact-finding mission was basically them logging onto their own Twitter account.
Significant fact-finding to decide that this was a bad idea. Mental. Absolutely mental. And you know what? In relation to the THQ Nordic story last week, where it was like, oh, we didn't know what... Not true. I don't believe you. This was a 2-minute discussion of... So this game, and then someone in the meeting just going, we shouldn't sell it, and then everyone else just murmuring and nodding, and that would have been it.
It's I think it's like the defense of like the THQ and 8chan. Maybe they thought they were going on 4chan and didn't really do their background research, and it all blew up in their face. And this one is like, you don't have anything. It should have just been literally a conference call of, this game's snuck on. We really should get rid of it because it's going to be a massive... It's not even a time bomb. It is literally burning.
It's already exploded. Like, this has already gone wrong.
It's exploded once. It could go off again if it actually appears on the Steam.
Yeah, if it passed and was being sold on Steam, like.
Yeah.
There it goes again. Shit, we're getting sued. Last one, and this is probably not going to be a massive discussion, but is it any wonder publishers and developers are abandoning Steam? Aside from more favourable revenue split, companies like Ubisoft don't need to worry about being associated with shit like Rape Day, Gay World, Active Shooter Simulator, and whatever the next monstrosity will be. I mean, it's not just becoming, like, I feel like it's not just a monetary thing, like why the Division 2 isn't going to be on Steam, or Fallout 76 isn't on Steam. It's also, we're now not on a storefront that had, because that had a game called Rape Day appear on it, like side by side with like Fallout 76 or the Division 2.
So, like, it's even if it's not on there now, it was advertised to have a game where you could rape and murder.
It was coming soon, but
Yeah,
because of the way Steam release dates work and the back end and whatnot, like it was like near the top of the list because it was set for a release day, which it didn't end up getting because Steam reviewed the game. So it was like right there. That's how people saw it. It was actually on Steam for weeks before anyone saw it because eventually it just rose to the top. And you're not gonna like go looking for a game like this. Like you wouldn't think, oh, I should check to see if there's any offensive games on Steam. Like you wouldn't just go Rape Day because you would think, no, that can't be possible.
Well, I'm sure there are people out there who are doing echo journalism or something, which are looking for offensive games on Steam. Because there will be people out there like that, and they must have had an aneurysm when they saw this one.
Yeah, I mean, I don't even remember.
The antipathy of societal norms, really.
I don't remember how this got out. I just remember reading the news one day and just being like, oh my, like the scene from Indiana Jones, my face just melted off.
Yeah.
And I had no words at first. Let's move on. Let's move the fuck.
Yes.
Let's get out of here. Our second topic of the day. EA are skipping having an E3 press conference. I've got words here written by Michael McWhirter over at Polygon, who writes, Electronic Arts will return to Los Angeles ahead of E3 2019 for its annual EA Play event, but the publisher's independent show will be quite different this year. EA is foregoing a traditional press conference in favour of a series of live streams. EA Play 2019 will see less talk and more play, Electronic Arts said in an announcement. The 3-day event will kick off on Friday, June 7th, my actual birthday, with a new style of presentation. Quote, we're skipping the press conference this year and are replacing it with multiple live streams that will air during the first 2 days of the event, bringing you more of what you've told us you want, more gameplay and insights from the teams making the games, end quote. It's going to be on like Saturday and Sunday, and then E3 is on from the Tuesday following. And then I don't need to read that. So, Keith, I'm going to read this first before we dive in to the question, because I just thought this was important information. So here's what we know EA has coming. Sports games, a new Plants vs. Zombies, a new Need for Speed, a new twist on Titanfall, Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order, which will be revealed at Star Wars Celebration in April, Sea of Solitude, Joseph Fares' next game, Apex Legends content, and Anthem content. So that's everything that we know 100% is a thing at EA. So I'll ask the first question. No EA press conference at E3. Is this a big deal?
I think it is a heavy indicator that the next generation of consoles is going to be announced next year. I think EA's also had a look at it and it's like, well, Sony's not going to be there. They're like, that's such a massive thing for people to tune in for at E3. So do we really need to turn up? It's like, we're going to be there on the show floor, but our content for the next few years, some of it we can't really put out there. Yeah, it's not for this console generation.
For Xbox Scarlet and Anaconda and PlayStation 5,
But let's do a Nintendo, but
I mean, it does sidestep the because before the last console generation when we were seeing games, like Watch Dogs for example, and we were doing that whole guessing game of is this a next generation game? It looks like a next generation game, and then there was months where it was just like the consoles hadn't been announced, so it was a case of you just saw all these games and you were just like, I don't think this is going to be and then I guess it's a nice way to sidestep that kind of thing.
Yeah, it would be. I mean, yeah, it's so. I mean, at this rate, E3 next year is going to be a massive one. And I suppose when I was thinking, if PlayStation's not there, maybe E3 EA's decided to do a bit on Microsoft stage.
I mean, they always do, right?
They
always do a bit on both.
Yeah, but this time it's well, we've not got as much. We could just go to one. We don't need to play favourites because PlayStation's not going to be there. Let's save ourselves a ton of money by not hiring a stage out and filling it with people to go woo.
Go
Um,
woo,
yeah.
woo, talking heads in front of computers. Woo. Oh wait, shit, that was a few years ago. It does kind of ruin my thing of just like imagine if you're at EA's press conference and they're talking about Apex Legends and then the lights go down and you hear BT's voice. Rule number one. Like,
That would be so dope. Oh, but no, we're not getting that.
No.
I mean, part of me has been like thinking that like the premium Titanfall content that we're getting is a revamped Titanfall 1.
Probably
Like,
not.
the campaign actually being a campaign you didn't have to play on multiplayer. But yeah, I'm guessing more like a tactical game or something.
I'm still told now for I think they're gonna bring out like maybe it's not from E3 or maybe it's not even this year. Like they'll use Apex Legends as a platform for here's more traditional Titanfall multiplayer, but new with like new maps maybe, and some of the old returning favorites, and then maybe there'll be a campaign that you can get, and these will all be like separate things.
Yeah.
Potentially, all tied into the game that has passed 50 million players.
Yeah. To be honest, it's like reusing stuff. I mean, we've both noticed in Titan, like in Titanfall 2, they reused several of the maps. In Apex, you walk around the zones, and pretty much, I mean, half of the zones seem to have a feel from like one aspect of the game or not.
Yeah, it's like Black Ops 4's Blackout, where it's like the main drop places are all based on levels from different Black Ops games. It's like Apex Legends has that where the main areas are kind of based on place levels from Titanfall.
Yeah, in Titanfall, because there's like a swamp level which I remembered from the end of like it was like wasn't an expansion pass, but it was basically it's all these trees and basically you can get to one side of the map without touching the ground. And I was like, I ain't that good.
Challenge accepted.
Yeah.
Oops, excuse me. So, okay. Are live streams of upcoming games potentially a better way of showcasing games than a traditional press conference? So instead of having someone on a stage doing all that, we're blah blah blah, we're going to talk to you like your corporate shareholders, blah blah blah, and now here's a gameplay demo for like a few minutes or a trailer. Instead of that, it's someone's playing the game on a live stream and there's some developers talking and they're just talking about what we're seeing or about the game itself. Like, could that potentially be better than?
I don't know. I've seen the Switch and Nintendo Direct now because I don't normally watch them, but you came around once and watched one, and it wasn't bad. And it was a quite good way of keeping people in the loop. But there is that whole thing that like people get like you get psyched for E3 each year, and it's like, oh yeah, we all know this big amount of information is going to come at this point, and I don't know what the industry would do about that.
Yeah, I feel like skipping to the end bullet point, which is with PlayStation now EA foregoing traditional press conferences, are we seeing the end of E3 as we know it? I feel like yes, you can absolutely control like. Because of the advent of the internet and Twitch and YouTube and Twitter and social media in general, and the way we all consume content, and like reveals and gameplay reveals and stuff, there is definitely like you definitely can just do whatever you want. Like you can announce a game whenever. It doesn't have to be announced in June and stuff like that. You can
announce a game by putting a little toy in front of the screen for 24 hours.
Yeah, let's not talk about that. That was a disaster from start to finish, as it turns out. But fucking Fallout 76. True. The only good thing about Fallout 76 is Country Roads is now a gaming anthem. Shit. Yeah, so like you can announce a game whenever, right? But at the same time, I feel like it would be an own goal if we didn't have this one big event somewhere in the calendar where everybody's watching the same thing. And this is where we get this is not necessarily everything, but this is where we get the majority of like updates and announcements and releases and hype and this and that, etc., so on and so forth.
what I've noticed is that gamers, much like geeks, love the con. And by con, for those who don't know, I don't mean some sort of con artist. I mean a convention, somewhere where they all go and they like play stuff. How hyped I see people who like cover the industry when they go to EGX or they go to E3. That they're really hyped to go there. They really love it. They really enjoy it. Like BlizzCon, EGX, Res.
EGX Raz, Tokyo Game Show. There's an EGX in Berlin now.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
Better
These
Games Fest,
things,
yeah, it was weird.
these things people like really enjoy. So I can see it changing a bit. I think it's really going to be next year, what it tells. It's going to show us if this was whole like a low because the next generation starting, or if they are just like pulling out from E3.
Yeah, I mean, we could also find out because there are certain companies that are backing away from this year's E3, and there are certain companies who are doubling down on this year's E3. So Sony's turned around and they're like, "Yeah, we're not going to do an E3 thing," and Microsoft's just gone, "Yeah, we're going to make this the biggest one ever."
Yeah,
And if that is a win for Microsoft, or if that works for Microsoft, then I mean that's going to be just as telling, right? Where it's like,
yeah,
well, Microsoft just had free reign at E3 basically.
yeah. To be honest, last year's like PlayStation one was weird, where they put everyone into a room,
It
played the
was.
music, then moved them.
If they
And
hadn't
I'm
have
really
done
close to
that,
that pregnant in the first row. I mean, really, it's like you spend all that time queuing, go to a place, and then you have to hurriedly move to another show, like floor show,
yeah, because they wanted to
another
be
venue.
in the Last of Us Part Two hall for the Last of Us reveal, but then they were like, no, we can do the rest of the show over here. Here's an intermission where we're going to talk about Destiny and Call of Duty and whatnot. And
That was so weird and so
yeah,
harsh on the audience.
I feel like if they hadn't have had that intermission, it was a really good show. Like it was really interesting. It was quite different, and I enjoyed it. But that intermission just killed everything. Like it was
Yeah,
so stupid. Because like
yeah.
once they moved everybody and it got back going again, and we had the Ghost of Tsushima thing, and then like it was popping off where it was like, here's Neo 2, here's Resident Evil 2 remake, like it's coming out in January, and everybody's like, oh shit, or I was anyway because Resident Evil 2, and like that was cool. And then they
Oh,
had these weird musical moments, and they had the Dreams characters playing the piano and the interludes and stuff, and it was cool, but also the first bit where they had to move,
yeah.
yeah, that was super dumb.
Yeah, it's like almost if like said that having the full orchestra for the previous year playing intro to like God of War. That was really cool. And then oh, it'd be really cool if we do this, and then not quite get why it was really cool having the full orchestra doing the theme music, and then getting an announcement.
Yeah. Well, it was God of War was such a masterclass in how to pronounce a game
Yeah,
at E3 2017, where it was like, we don't know what this is. The music's playing, Bear McCreary's doing the full on orchestra thing, and then, like, you don't know what's going on. There's a kid, Chris Judge is
boy,
there, and then
boy.
he steps out
Yeah,
and it's Kratos, and everybody loses their mind, and it's just like, oh shit, this is a God of War. Like, yeah, that reveal was mwah. And that's the kind of thing
yeah,
you would miss if you were just doing your own thing and doing it whenever. It's just like I feel like that built more hype for God of War than if Sony had just done a blog post or had
yeah,
posted this video on YouTube,
yeah.
because it's a moment in time and it's a moment we all got to share because we were all watching it at the same time.
Yeah. Shared experiences.
Shared experiences are powerful.
Mm-hmm.
Um, like that's why once E3 happens, we're always talking about E3 for the next 6 months. Like
Mm-hmm.
sometimes, like some of the things that happen at E3, we're talking about for years. Like, like we've just had a discussion about how awesome the God of War reveal was, or we talk about the orchestra that they brought all the time. Like, there's a reason these things work and they're so powerful. And I feel like if companies are starting to pull away from that sort of shared experience thing, then that might not necessarily be in their best interests. On the plus side, Devolver Digital did confirm that they are definitely doing an E3 press conference this year, so E3's fine.
Yeah, the air quotes that are required for like Devolver Digital and a press conference.
I have a
He's gonna
full.
die this year. Um,
Everybody, the audience, who knows, that stock audience they keep reusing.
that's not quite the audience. Yeah, who appear to be sitting at the cinema or something.
Two dudes with the and the women sharing the popcorn. Like, yeah, cool. Let's move on to number 3. This isn't a news story so much as it is an observation of what the fuck happened last month.
Yeah.
And let's discuss it because I think it's an interesting discussion to be had. The title of this topic is "What the hell was the February release schedule all about?" Some words here written by me. So we're finally back to... Yeah, we're finally back to... Oh shit, it just went all the way to the top. Man, this iPad is so user-unfriendly. We're finally back to a fairly normal, actually manageable schedule of AAA games releases after a February that was, for want of a better term, a meat grinder. It wasn't even really the entire month of February, it was one day, February 15th. For whatever reason, 4 AAA games all released on one day, and 4 quite similar games at that. Crackdown 3, Anthem, Far Cry New Dawn, and Metro Exodus. Throw in Jump Force, a niche game with a dedicated niche audience, and the surprise release of Apex Legends just over a week earlier, and Anthem's other release a week later, and you've got a perplexing release schedule, but also one that's been known about for months. So I made some bullet points to my own point, because my ego knows no bounds. Keith, why did everyone stick to their guns? Especially since between February 15th and now, March 10th, only Devil May Cry 5 and Dead or Alive 6 have released in the AAA space. Why did no one move their games to a week or 2 later?
I'll tell you why. Because I heard John Marston on the other side of Christmas just snigger and go, "Chicken, huh?" And they all decided that they blinked once and they couldn't afford for their, their manhood to blink again. It would be just admitting that they weren't confident in their game. So
Okay.
they decided to go ahead and all ahead and damn the torpedoes.
Cool. That perfectly leads into my second bullet point, which says, or earlier. Again, aside from Apex Legends and Ace Combat 7, there were no AAA releases in February until the 15th. And only EA knew about Apex Legends.
Yeah, only EA knew about Apex Legends.
Like, okay, cool. Like, I totally see your point of just like, if we delay the game, like, we want to be first, right? Like, if we come out a week or 2 weeks or 3 weeks after February 15th, like, Days Gone was supposed to come out as well, but they moved that. But they moved that so far away that it doesn't matter. Like, in terms of the discussion that we're having, like, yeah, and that kind of like, okay, so everybody spent their money on Anthem or Crackdown or whichever games actually came out, and then maybe they don't have the money to spend on, let's say, Metro, which might have been delayed, for example. But nobody moved their game forward. And the weirdest part about the 15th of February is, like, in this country, games traditionally released on a Friday, like years and years ago, and when we kind of had a set new game day, but in America, it was always Tuesday. And over here now, because we've had simultaneous worldwide releases for a while, like, we started getting a lot of AAA games on a Tuesday. The 15th of February was a Friday. Nothing came out on the Tuesday before it, which is the more traditional AAA game release day. And not one of these 4, apart from Anthem, which probably, like, because of its stupid, like, multiple release schedule, probably couldn't move any of its release dates. Like, not one of these companies went, hey, why don't we just come out on the Tuesday? Like, what? Like, that's my main question is, like, what the fuck was that all about? Like, there was so much space around February 15th for these games to come out. Why did they all feel the need to come out on the same day? Bearing in mind, Metro Exodus actually and Crackdown 3 actually both moved from Feb 22nd to the 15th.
Yeah.
So they'd already moved forward once. I just don't get it. It's not like it was a few weeks before a few weeks beforehand where everybody was suddenly going, we're going to release on this day. Oh shit, so are we. This was like months. Like at E3 last year, we were talking about this. Like, there's no way some of these games couldn't have just gone, actually, you know what?
Do you reckon that all of them were just sitting there?
Someone else will
blink. No, they're going to move. They're going to blink.
Someone else is going to blink. Like, could you imagine being the game? Because, yeah, I guess Anthem is the one you would want to try and avoid. which technically came out on February 22nd. But could you imagine if you were the game that came out the week after Anthem? After all the bugs and the technical glitches and the bricked PS4s, and like people are like, shit, Anthem basically doesn't work. Fuck, I'll wait a bit. Oh, Far Cry New Dawn just came out. I'll buy that. And I'll play that until Anthem's working.
Banking on a BioWare game not working when it comes out before Anthem was a dangerous proposition.
Was it though? Let's look at Mass Effect Andromeda.
As I say, one game is not a pattern. 2 games.
I mean, again, like, yeah, I suppose. Even then, like, Anthem was balked in the beta we were talking about. It took down the entire of EA's server infrastructure during the private beta.
Yeah.
My final bullet point. We won't get the NPD numbers for these games for another week or so, but I'd imagine the numbers won't be great. In the UK, Anthem's physical sales were 50% down on Mass Effect Andromeda, which was 50% down on Mass Effect 3, and less than a quarter of Destiny 2's launch sales, for example. Now, physical sales don't mean jack shit, but again, this game's supposed to sell 6 million units by the end of the financial year. I feel like we're going to find out that these games didn't sell all that well because they all came out at the same time, and they're all pretty similar.
Yeah, and I'm low key worried about BioWare.
Yeah, like EA's not all that patient with like their game development studios. Like they've just put out their roadmap, which I'm planning on having a discussion about roadmaps in general in next week's podcast, hopefully, as long as, you know, things that keep happening don't happen and bump things off the list. But like I don't know, man, it just feels like none of these games are going to have hit internal targets because they were all stealing from each other. This isn't the equivalent of
Titanfall 2.
Yeah, this isn't the equivalent of Titanfall, Battlefield, and COD, because Battlefield and COD were always going to sell, and Titanfall was always going to be the one that was where the bottom fell out. This is all of these games will have taken sales from each other, and the only one it doesn't really matter for is Crackdown 3 because it's on Game Pass.
Yeah, I still think it hits like Crackdown. It's just not as much.
Yeah, it's like it's insulated from that because. Like
it has a buffer.
Yeah, it has a buffer. That's a better way of describing it. It has that buffer of being in Game Pass.
It's still Game Pass. It's still Game Pass. It's still good. It's still good.
Plus, like for some reason, games in Game Pass sell better than when they're not in Game Pass. So go figure. The world is upside down at the moment. But yeah, I mean, like it's like the Mass Effect Andromeda to Anthem sales thing is there's a fewer things you could do to sort of go, well, Mass Effect, it was because you remember, and like from where we are now, hindsight's a wonderful thing. But at the time, Andromeda was obviously like it's the next Mass Effect. It's the next Mass Effect. Mass Effect is such a big brand, but a quarter of Destiny 2's sales as well. That's a very lateral move in terms of this is the new Destiny. It's in the same genre. It's a loot shooter. It's got hype and marketing behind it. It's being made by BioWare, which isn't as massive a draw as it used to be, but a quarter of the physical sales of that game suggests to me that this game is in trouble in terms of its sales figures. I think it's the 17th when the NPD numbers get released this month, so it might just make the cutoff so we can talk about it next week. If not, it'll definitely be the week after. Right. But we'll be talking about that. Like, I guess this discussion is to be continued, where it's like we see what the damage was. And maybe I'm wrong, and maybe there is no damage, and all of these games somehow sold reasonably well. Maybe Anthem did sell 6 million units. But let's move on to topic 4. I buried this a bit further down so we could have some non-Doom discussions. THQ Nordic finally acknowledges that Trainwreck of Chan EMA. So this is a quick recap for anyone who didn't see the last podcast or basically wasn't following along with this story that's been developing for the last few weeks. THQ Nordic decided to do an AMA on 8chan, apparently without doing a Google search that would have immediately told them that the site was delisted from Google for child porn. The EMA was filled with homophobia, sexism, fascism, potential child porn, transphobia, and more. THQ Nordic's representatives in the EMA responded to some of these things and defended the EMA even as it quickly filled up with all of this. Here's the full statement, as released about a week later, from Lars Wingefors, co-founder and CEO of THQ Nordic AB. Quote, "This letter is to offer my sincerest apologies and regret for THQ Nordic GmbH Vienna's interaction with the controversial website 8chan last Tuesday, February 26th. I condemn all unethical content this website stands for. Even if no one within the THQ Nordic group would ever endorse such content, I realise simply appearing there gave an implicit impression that we did. As co-founder and group CEO of THQ Nordic AB, I take full responsibility for all of THQ Nordic GmbH's actions and communications. I have spent the past several days conducting an internal investigation into this matter. I assure you that every member of the organisation has learned from the past week's events. I take this matter very seriously, and we will take appropriate action to make sure we have the right policies and systems in place to avoid similar mistakes in the future. As a Swedish-based, fast-growing group, we firmly support equality and diversity. We are also working actively to combat discrimination, harassment, and misconduct. We are already in the process of developing new work processes based on the United Nations SDG, which is Sustainable Development Goals, and using the GRI, which is the Global Reporting Initiative standards. And we will accelerate this work going forward." I have a non-question bullet point, as you can see, Keith, which explains. For starters, that was so vague. I don't think it actually said anything. But
the SDG was mentioned. I was like, wait, what?
Yeah, let me just get this one because the SDG is the second bullet point. Because I don't think Lars expected anyone to actually go, wait, what are those, and look them up, but I looked them up. But first, I just want to say that simply appearing on 8chan isn't what made people think they were giving the implicit impression that THQ Nordic endorsed the board's content. Replying directly to homophobic and lolly imagery, continuing the EMA, even when presented with fascist images, transphobia, racism, homophobia, sexism, and more, and defending the EMA on Twitter while all of this happened is what made them explicitly endorse this content. Am I wrong? Am I wrong? I feel like that was the discussion we had last week, where it was like, if they didn't pull the plug when they saw all of this horrific shit happening in the thread, and that's the point. And then they started replying to some, like the lolly picture of that one incredibly homophobic image, where
from the moderator.
Where it was the other guy, Reinhard Paulus, said like, "Oh, that could be in one of our games." Like, are you fucking shitting me? Like, you're talking about, our appearance there gave the implicit impression. No, the fact that you responded to this, saw all of this happening, and didn't pull the plug, and then defended it on Twitter, that's explicit. Like, oh yeah, we're defending this. Like, well, at that point, you've just defended this, and you can't get out of it by saying, "Oh, we did not mean to give the implicit impression that we endorsed this by our appearance there." It's bullshit.
Yeah.
I mean, again, like I tipped my hand at the beginning and said, like, yeah, that didn't really say anything. But one of the things it did say, the United Nations SDG is a blueprint of 17 sustainable development goals that aims to tackle climate change, preserve the oceans and forests while improving health and education, reducing inequality, and spurring economic growth. I'm not really sure how that's going to help in this case.
Yeah, I don't know if it's on camera, if I did or I was like, I don't know what my first reaction was.
I look forward to finding out.
That one, I was like, wait.
That's about climate change.
Isn't that something that governments are signing up to but always fail to do? The whole thing about making sure our oceans don't stay toxic and we plant trees because them.
Yeah.
What?
What does that have to do with this?
Quickly go away and Google something for United Nations rights of the child or something.
Here's the thing.
And instead, that time the BBC put up the Halo emblem instead of the United Nations Security Council because of
UNSC, and they just took the first image off of Google and it was from Halo. Yeah, I remember that was awesome.
Yeah, sending the chief to sort that out.
I mean, here's the thing. I looked it up because I had to. Right, it's part of my job. And the SDG and the GRI, they both mention equality, gender equality, diversity, and stuff like that. But they're both initiatives to like essentially tackle climate change and make the world a better place from a governmental standpoint. So I don't know how this affects how THQ Nordic is going to not fucking go on 8chan again
Yeah,
and endorse like all of the content that I've already mentioned.
my brain works in strange ways. And I just remember in the Bill Bailey joke of like it's like sometimes like bad people have good ideas, and he mentions the Ku Klux Klan's environmental policy: keep the Arctic white.
Oh god.
I just had this sudden vision of it, like I was like, we may have endorsed all of this stuff, but we are really keen on environmentalism. That's not the message that they should be sending, and it kind of is what they're sending here when they're defending the stream on Twitter. And then what he's saying, it's almost.
And then what he's saying is, but we're committed to saving the environment.
Yeah. But when you actually read it out, it's like, well, okay, it's like if someone hadn't bothered to check your Twitter account, I'm guessing most of those tweets are deleted now. I think we mentioned that last time.
Yeah, the tweet that was linking to the AMA, and I'm guessing the defense. I don't know if the defense was, but it took a while. It was 12 hours before it actually got deleted. But the AMA is obviously still up.
Yeah.
So, you know.
But I'm guessing this won't do anything to anyone who's like looks at their tweets defending it and the AMA, but it might do a bit for the like shareholders or whatever, the people who didn't actually see what it was, what they were actually saying, that they were, actually making references to the lolly imagery and the homophobia.
I mean, that's the one that, like, there was a lot of shit in there, and there was a lot of bad shit that they reacted to, but that is the one that stuck with me. It was the it was the one that no one was really talking about at first, where it was the incredibly, like, the homophobic slur of the Knights Templar, and then the director of business development turning around and saying, that could be from one of our games. And me just being like, really? Like, because that was my, like, really? I get what he was saying, I hope, like, that he was saying, which was that Knight Templar could be from one of our games, and just ignoring the words. But one and the other aren't separated, and when he said that, it's like, you just basically said that could be from one of your games.
If he's Swedish, I don't know how well they may understand what the word faggot means.
Then he shouldn't have been in the AMA.
Yeah, it's like faggot has two meanings, and one of them is the homophobic slur.
It is indeed. It is a horrific homophobic slur, and like if there was a language barrier issue, like, he shouldn't have been in the AMA. Shouldn't have been. Like, and it's saying things like, just mind boggles. The mind fucking boggles. They appear to have dropped the "we didn't know what kind of website 8chan defense was." 8chan was defense. Or at least it's not mentioned in here.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, I don't think anyone believed. Like, I've seen, like, Video Gamer and GamesIndustry.biz and a bunch of other places discuss the aftermath of this, and, like, everybody... Like, there are a few consensuses, like, beyond, like, the basic, this was stupid, but, like, one consensus is no one seems to believe that was a thing.
Yeah.
Which, to be fair, like, we were sitting here going, there's no way that could be possible.
Yeah, there was the idea that they confused 4chan and 8chan was the only conceivable one.
Yeah. Potentially, possibly.
Yeah, the idea is like the Steve Buscemi thing where it goes, hello, fellow kids, we've heard of this 8chan.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like, no, this is, you're thinking of 4chan, mate, this is 8chan. What's that like?
Oh, Jesus. Yeah, I mean, it all falls apart within minutes of... Because, like, as soon as they were like, we're doing a thing on 8chan, we have no idea why, and then, like, within minutes there were, like, game developers and people in the games industry tweeting, like, replying to that tweet, like, don't do this.
Yeah.
These are the reasons why you shouldn't do this, and they were just like, nah, man, it's cool. Paraphrased.
Yeah. And we don't know why thing popped into my head.
Yeah, we don't know why. It's like, nobody does.
That was their announcement, yeah.
Like, nobody understands this. Nobody understands how this happened.
Yeah, it's like 8chan asked really nicely. Why was 8chan asking for an AMA?
Shout out to Mark. who's going to get rid of all the nasty stuff. I mean, there's your first red flag. Like, there's your first thing that maybe this isn't such a good idea. The dude who's asking to do this is saying, "Don't worry, I'll get rid of the nasty stuff."
Yeah, is Mark the person who posted the image of the Knight Templar?
Who knows? It's an anonymous image board.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Although he may be outed by the fact that THQ Nordic did say he was going to do that. That was the moderator who posted, but fair enough.
Yeah, it was the board owner, right? We still won't be covering their games for the immediate future.
No.
Not at all.
We may respond to some of the producers of game development studios reaction to this.
Yes, I mean this story will continue on the podcast if there's more if there's more fallout from it, we'll definitely talk about it on the podcast. But it's a case of that statement doesn't say anything. About anything. There's no contrition. There's no here's what we're doing to make sure that something like this never happens again. Beyond the absolutely ridiculous, we're going to follow the United Nations fucking climate change plan. Great, well done. Congratulations, I guess. But it's a thing of actions speak louder than words, and it'll be a thing where we'll be watching to see what they do. I mean, I was kind of looking forward to Generation Zero coming out in a few weeks, but now it's just I deleted it from the spreadsheet. No, I'm not doing that. Sorry. A big sorry to the developers because they had nothing to do with this, but I can't.
I can only say again, just the feeling of empathy I have for those poor developers who just walked up to Twitter when they presumably with a coffee in their hand and did a spit take when they realized what their publisher was doing.
Yeah. Yeah, the guys who make Satisfactory, the guys who make Generation Zero, the guys who are making Biomutant. Pretty sure that was in my top 16 upcoming games of 2019. I feel really, really bad for anyone who got caught in the crossfire on this one, in terms of the developers. But at the same time, I can't sit down and write a video about one of these games without this just being in my head the entire time, which is unfair on the developers again. So
I mean, normally when we talk about unfair practice by developers, it's the Titanfall 2 was sent out to die, not oh my god, you've just associated all of these games with this well of darkness that we've come again back to.
Yeah,
the Abyss, it's come for us again, Amy.
No, it's not. We're out. Peace out, Abyss. I don't know why I did that for peace. Peace.
Well, that's kind of rock at the best,
Peace out. Number 5. Remember when we made a joke on the podcast that Nintendo Switch VR would be you sticking the Switch to your face? Well, this is from Luke Plunkett over at Kotaku. The headline of which Nintendo announces Labo. Is it Labo or Labo? It's Labo. Labo VR kit for Switch. Here's the text. Coming out of absolutely nowhere, and he's not wrong, Nintendo just announced a new virtual reality set for the Nintendo Switch, which will make use of the platform's Labo cardboard building concept. The full pack's name is the Nintendo Labo VR kit, and will come in 2 versions, a full set that includes software, goggles, and 5 cardboard designs, and a smaller starter kit that only includes the goggles and one of the designs, a blaster/rifle. Those will cost $80 and $40 respectively, but UK pricing is still TBA. I'm just going to hold this here for no particular reason. Anyone who only buys the smaller set will be able to buy the additional designs as expansions later on.
I mean, it's not the heaviest thing in the world.
I mean, you've worn VR headsets, you know that they're pretty heavy on the front.
Yeah. It's kind of big though, so it's gonna come out it must come out slightly further even than the PlayStation one. And it's been held up by cardboard and elastic band.
I mean, yeah, but
maybe elastic band, I don't know.
I think cardboard is a thing. I used to have one. You just slot your phone in front of it, and it's got the goggles that make the stereoscopic VR thing work. Yeah. It's really cool. So I mean, I like the weight. It doesn't really. I don't think it's going to be an issue. And the cardboard just needs to be strong cardboard.
Yeah.
Have you seen the pictures, though?
No, I haven't
Some
actually.
of them look nuts. Like the blaster slash rifle. Like, do you remember that comic you showed me a while ago, a long time ago, where it was like, this is how people in real life hold a gun. This is how
Oh,
people in, and then the Doom guy just had like a third arm coming out the center of his chest. That's kind of what this reminded me of, because like you put the thing on and you've got the goggles and the switch, and then it's like you put the blaster as part because it's all part of the cardboard unit. That's the
yeah.
thing with how Labo works. So you've got the cardboard thing, and then you've got the blaster rifle coming off the front of the cardboard and the thing, and you're holding it like
Like,
like
but
that.
it's like you have to stand like this. You just
Yeah.
slowly fall
It's
apart.
no
Oh
shit.
god.
Like you just got to shoot something like forward, and then you're like, uh-oh.
Is this real or is this the Google
That is from the
gamepad?
Kotaku article that I got this
Right.
from. This is one of the images of the Nintendo label thing. I mean, I don't want to say that we're geniuses and we called this, but I mean, it was a long. I mean, it was a while ago because it's been a while since we've even talked about virtual reality.
Mhm.
Um, Hold on, I'm just stalling for time while I bring up the pictures. I mean, we called this right. We can call this as a. We definitely called this, even if we were
We made
joking.
a joke, and yeah, it happened.
Okay, so let me just wait for the pictures to load up. I'm in the right place. It's just the Wi-Fi in here is shockingly bad. That's why I have a document that I. Here it is. All right,
That's
that's the blaster. I
that's
wasn't kidding.
elaborate.
I wasn't
Hoax,
kidding. There's
but
a picture. There's like a picture of all the different ones, so you can
the,
see the blaster again in there. And there's like a steering wheel one. Um, I'm not sure what the fuck's going on with the girl in the pink shirt. I have no idea what's going on there. I can see the Joy Cons.
that's elephant. I mean,
Is that a submarine? Is that like a periscope?
ding, ding. And
um, and then again, it's like, I mean, Pokemon Snap in VR is happening, right? Because that's a camera.
yeah.
So if they don't do Pokemon Snap VR, and then again, I'm not sure what's happening in this photo
Um,
because look at his foot.
yeah, could be like a break thing.
So here's my right. So if that's a break thing, there's not
Yeah.
like it's a piece of cardboard. So the only like interactable in the equation is a Joy-Con. So are you standing on your Joy-Con? Is that a good idea? Look,
When you say interactable, complex things with cardboard. I mean, it's like Lego rubbish.
yeah, I guess there was the piano as well. So it
Yeah,
depends how the cameras and stuff work. But yeah, you're right.
yeah.
Look,
Probably the Joy-Con pointing at something that you're standing on, and when your foot goes down, it obscures
camera, the
the con-
laser, yeah, the infrared laser. Okay, cool. Like I'm just being sarcastic, bitch, because I really needed to have a laugh about something.
yeah.
But this actually does look kind of cool. And the fact that it's gonna be like if you just want the starter set, so the blaster rifle one, it's $40, and that gets you everything you need: the goggles, the cardboard build, the yeah, like
Yeah,
that's kind of cool for kids to like get into VR who probably
yeah.
have switches. Like
The gateway drug.
who again, this is obviously aimed at. Like
Yeah.
it's like when we talked about Labo last year, and it was like, well, like we were talking about all the people saying this is dumb, and it's like, well, it's for kids, dickhead. Um, like again, I feel like this is my first VR. Sure, it's not an Oculus Rift or a PlayStation VR, but it's Nintendo, so it's probably going to be really fun.
It will be fun. There will be images of grown-ups getting their hand on this, like at the first event that it's at,
Yeah,
and you'll be seeing people laughing, like
and
and
it'll just be
smiling.
yeah. Like I am hoping that this will be at this year's EGX, just so I can be one of those adults being like transported back to childhood. I mean, it's like the whole creativity thing, but with the added bonus of it's also virtual reality. Like, remember when you used to pretend a cardboard box was a spaceship? Well, now Nintendo's letting you do that, but also it's in VR, so that cardboard box is pretty much actually a fucking spaceship. That's pretty cool.
You said that, and I remembered suddenly using ream paper in like, copious amounts to make full sets of body armor and weaponry, including pretend knives,
There you
with
go.
my neighbor.
I mean, this is that. That's what Labo is. Just taken to the next level.
Next level.
And this is Labo taken to the next level.
Mm.
And we totally predicted it, so go us. Keith, I'm going to do games out this week and then we can bounce.
Yeah.
On March 12th, we've got Claybook on Switch and Hypnospace Outlaw on PC and Exocraft on PC. On March 12th/13th/14th, we've got Rico on PS4, Xbox One, PC, and Switch. They're all coming out on different days on different platforms, I guess.
On March the 15th, we have The Division 2 on PC, PS4, and Xbox One. Then we have Fenimore Fillmore, 3 Scores of the Toltecs, that's a mouthful and a half, on PC. And the One Piece World Seeker on PC, PS4, and Xbox One.
It's a light week.
It's a light week.
Imagine if a game like Metro Exodus doesn't come out this week.
Yeah.
I mean, the Division 2 is like a bigger deal than we're letting on. It's just not our kind of thing. Like,
Yeah,
I'm going to play it. I'm going to make a video of it. It's going to be fine because it's a decent third-person cover shooter, but I'm not into loot shooters, it seems. Like, apart from Destiny 2 for a month and a half, like, I haven't really, like, gone down the rabbit hole of getting into loot shooters. Like,
yeah. Ditto.
I play it, like, I don't know, this might be a discussion we can have at some point, but I play games for fun, like, above loot. Like, I don't need the loot grind to be compelled to continue playing. Like, I play Overwatch because I like Overwatch and it's fun to play.
Yeah.
I don't need like loot boxes to convince me to keep playing it, even though I did open like 80 loot boxes at the charity stream.
I'm glad I missed that.
I got a lot of cool stuff out of those loot boxes. I'll probably just keep saving them up again. Like, I was bored, right? Like, I was bored, I was tired, I couldn't face another match at that moment, but I was like, I'm streaming, I need to be doing something. Fuck, I'll just open all these loot boxes. And then you'll be proud of me because I didn't immediately go to the store and buy more. I might be cured. All it took was the whole explosion of how shitty loot boxes were. Also, my timer just goes up to hours, which is nice. You can't see it, but it just added an extra thing to it, which is nice. So I'm going to hit stop on that. That's good. That's a good time. We are out. Peace.
Peace.